What's going on, guys? Real Talk with Ryan here. Today I'm going to be talking about a sci-fi thriller drama film called The Assessment, which is now available to check out in theaters. This film was directed by Fleur, and this is her directorial debut. The film stars Elizabeth Olsen, Himesh Patel, and Alicia Vikander. Now, what is this film ultimately about? Well, it's basically about this old world that was destroyed by climate change, and you have this new world that is a utopian society. You have a couple here who wants to have a child, but in this new world, you have to have an assessor come over to your house for a week and decide if you're right to be parents. Now, I did see a trailer for this, mainly I watched probably about maybe 30 seconds of this trailer. I don't like to watch too much of trailers because they give so much away. So I saw who was in the movie and I was like, okay, this sounds like it's going to be a very interesting concept. And starting off with the positives of this film, I do think that the color scheme is very prevalent here. In this house, you have the couple having a lot of different furniture pieces that are a lot of different colors. They have this unique window that is white, blue, red, and orange. And throughout this film, there is a lot of colors within a lot of the different rooms throughout. There's quite a bit of character development here. We learn about this couple, Himesh Patel and Elizabeth Olsen. They are an interesting couple, I would say. Elizabeth Olsen, she has a decent backstory here, mainly with her mother and how she was actually raised. And also the assessor, Virginia here, who's actually assessing them. She plays a very good role here. It does have depth within its characters. And Alicia Vikander here, I think she is the best out of everyone here. Her role here and the way that she acts as an assessor, she just kind of gradually builds her role as the film goes along. And she gets very crazy and acts like a child as the film goes along as well. But that is kind of like the test for this couple. And we kind of see them go through the struggles here of, what should be the thing they would do if they were a parent. And I actually did like that. And we learn that the father here, he is a scientist who is designing AI. He designs pets and different people, such like that he's doing. And he has this separate room that is this virtual reality room. And then you have Elizabeth Olsen, who is a plant biologist who basically is trying to find new resources of energy, and she has this greenhouse that she uses to actually achieve that, because in this new world, they don't have meat, animals are not around whatsoever, and they also have different ways of trying to get resources, because resources is very limited in this world. So I thought that was very interesting about the movie. From a negative standpoint, I would say that this movie, it has a very good central idea, and I was definitely glued to the central idea of this movie. So the old world, they talk about a little bit in this film, and later on about the third act of the film, there's a little bit more about it. We learn a little bit more about that world, but the problem is this movie feels like it could be longer, or it could be a series as well, because it seems like there's a lot to really explore about this old world in which people that aren't necessarily, handpicked by the government, they basically are in a wasteland over in that old world, but we don't get to actually see that. We just kind of know about it. And you have privileged people who are rich and basically get to live in this new world, but at the same time, people can't actually have natural childbirth. They do it a different way through science. And then AI is very much used in here as well, which plays a role in the fact that AI is just not the same as reality. And I like that that was kind of one of the concepts within this film. Also, the fact that, having a loving relationship, being tested by a certain someone to actually achieve of actually having a kid, I thought that was an interesting concept throughout this. But also the state that's actually running these tests and actually testing these individuals, they have so much control. It's a very authority type of government in which they very much control everybody. And I thought that was very interesting as well. Though we don't get to really explore the outside world of that, it is a very cool concept. And I think that's kind of what makes this movie feel kind of special in a way. The runtime here, I think, is perfect for the most part. But like I said, I think at times some of the other concepts, especially the old world, it could have been actually maybe broadened out a little bit more, but I think, again, that's probably more like a series, or if this was like a much longer movie, if there was more budget to it, maybe we could have gone to those kind of aspects, but we really don't. But I think overall, for me, this is a movie that I really enjoyed. I think you guys should definitely check it out. It definitely is more of a slow burn kind of film. It definitely is testing out this couple and having this person actually assess them. I mean, on their every move, even if they're having sex, she's assessing them. So there's some really strange little things that kind of come into play here, and definitely some things within the character's past that we get to learn a little bit about. I think the only character that wasn't that strong to me as far as like a background was probably the father here, Himesh Patel. He wasn't like a bad actor or anything like that, and I didn't dislike his character or anything like that, but I did feel like they didn't really go too much into his character. There's like maybe a few traits here and there. He's a lot more patient than his wife, I would say, because his wife, like, she is definitely not really going into this assessor and like how they're actually being tested. She has a problem really doing that, and I think that really goes to the fact of like her patience level and the fact of how her mother actually abandoned her when she was younger, which I thought was very interesting as well, because really the father here to me seems like he is the one that really wants a child, and you really see that especially within the third act. And how this film really plays out in the third act, I was kind of half and half on it, because on one end, I was like, okay, where do we go from here? Where do we go next? And then we get a little bit of the answers of certain things within that test and what's really going outside of their world. We do go into another world, but I'm not exactly sure like how far that world is exactly from the initial house where we're actually at. So when we get into that third act and we start to unravel certain ideas about what is actually going on, I thought it was very interesting and an interesting way to end the film. But at the same time, the film leaves you hanging a little bit. There is an ending to a point, but it definitely has an open-ended ending that I think, it really makes you wonder as the audience, like, where do we go to from here? As far as an overall score for The Assessment, I would give it a 3.5 out of 5. I would have given it a higher score if we got a little bit more with the world building a little bit more, especially with the old world and learning a little bit more, because really it just centralizes on the assessor, this couple, basically on this cliff with this house and this greenhouse and then the beach right there as well, but necessarily not really exploring the outside world, just mostly secluded within this house and having some interesting character development, but necessarily not really full-fledging like the full, I guess, background story, which again, I think that's a budget thing. And again, I think that this movie, if it has more budget, has a longer runtime, or is a series, I do think this movie could have been even better. So that's my thoughts on this film. Let me know what you guys think about this film. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you just think it was kind of meh? If you haven't seen it, are you going to check it out when it comes to VOD or streaming? Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time.